This is my take from podcast. If you want to listen summary of podcasts, start with a free trial for detailed summaries on Apple Podcasts and Spotify using link in descriptions and support with tips on Patreon. Here is key point discussed in podcast 500 Key toilet business luxury hotels, sales marketing profits Kimirica FO417 Raj Shamani. You know, it's amazing how tiny changes in our habits can completely alter the trajectory of our lives. Just like how a slight adjustment in the direction of a plane can make a huge difference in its destination, our daily habits can either compound for us or against us over time. And it's not just about making massive changes, it's about making those small incremental improvements that can add up to make a huge difference. Take the story of Mohit Jain, the co-founder of Kimirika, an Indian luxury self-care brand. He shifted his business with a simple idea to create high-quality toiletries for hotels. But what's interesting is how he went about it. He packed a sample of 4 bottles with his hands, made a box out of them, and sent them to 10 hotels with a handwritten letter. And that's how he landed his first client. But what's even more fascinating is how he approached the hotel industry. He didn't just try to sell his products, he tried to understand the industry, the people, and their needs. He created beautiful collections that catered to different types of hotels, from resorts to business-class hotels. And he presented them in a way that was unique and attention-grabbing. And it's not just about the products, it's about the story behind them. Mohit's story is one of passion, hard work, and dedication. He and his brother shifted making soaps in their father's old office, using a boiler and a structure to create handmade soaps. They worked tirelessly to create 50,000 soaps in just 2 weeks, and they did it all by themselves. But what's even more inspiring is how they turned a rejection into an opportunity. When a hotel told them that they couldn't afford their products, Mohit and his brother didn't give up. They created a new packaging that was unique and attention-grabbing, and they presented it to the hotel in a way that was confident and persuasive. And that's the key takeaway from Mohit's story. It's not just about the products or the marketing, it's about the people and the story behind them. It's about creating something that's unique and attention-grabbing, and presenting it in a way that's confident and persuasive. And it's about turning rejections into opportunities, and using them as a chance to learn and grow. So if you're thinking of starting your own business, or if you're already running one, take a page out of Mohit's book. Focus on creating something that's unique and attention-grabbing, and present it in a way that's confident and persuasive. And don't be afraid to take risks and try new things. Because as Mohit's story shows, it's often the smallest changes that can make the biggest difference. You know, it's amazing how tiny changes in our habits can change the trajectory of our lives in ways that we can't even notice until many years into the future. Just like how a slight change in the direction of a plane can make a huge difference in its destination. And it's the same with our habits. A 1 improvement every day can compound to nearly 38 times better over a year, while a 1 decline can bring us close to 0. It's all about the power of atomic habits. Now, let's talk about the story of Mohit Jain, who shifted a business supplying hotel toiletries. He had to convince top hotels to take a chance on him, and he did it by being prepared and showing them that he understood their brand DNA. He would study the hotel's theme, colors, and fragrances, and create a customized presentation that would blow their minds. He even went as far as to create a customized amenity set with the hotel's logo on it, without even being asked. Mohit's approach was to behave like a consultant, not just a product supplier. He would focus on the consumer's mindset and what they would value in a hotel toiletry product. He would talk about the USPs of his product, such as being vegan and paraben-free, and how it would give the consumer a better experience. He even took the time to learn about the hotel's brand book and playbook, so he could speak their language. But what really stood out was Mohit's attention to detail. He would also take the time to explain his product, and how it was made, and would even offer to make changes to meet the hotel's specific needs. And you know what? It worked. Mohit was able to land big clients like Marriott and Sahara Star, and even got to supply products to hotels in the Maldives. He was able to build a successful business by being prepared, understanding his clients' needs, and paying attention to detail. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Mohit faced rejection and even humiliation at times. Mohit had to swallow his pride and agree to make the same product, even though it went against his values. Despite the challenges, Mohit's business continued to grow, and he was able to make a positive impact on the industry. He was able to reduce the import of hotel toiletries from 90 to 0, and even help to create jobs and opportunities for other startups. It just goes to show that with hard work, determination, and a focus on detail, we can achieve great things and make a real difference in the world. You know, it's amazing how tiny changes in our habits can change the trajectory of our lives in ways we can't even notice until many years later. Just like how a slight change in the direction of a plane can make a huge difference in its destination. And it's the same with our habits. We often think that massive success requires massive action, but it's actually the tiny improvements that create incredible change. For example, being one better every day can compound to nearly 38 times better in just a year. And on the other hand, being one worse every day can bring you close to 0 in just over a year. So, it's really about making those small changes and being consistent. And it's not just about the habits themselves, but also about the systems and processes we put in place to support them. For example, having a clear goal and a plan for achieving it can make a huge difference in our success. He talks about how he used to travel all the time, meeting with clients and trying to close deals. And he had to be very strategic about how he spent his time, making sure he was meeting with the right people and following up with them in a timely manner. But he also talks about how he had to be patient and persistent because it took time to build relationships and close deals. But if we're willing to put in the effort, we can achieve great things. The entrepreneur talks about how he learned so much from his experiences and how he was able to build a successful business by being adaptable and responsive to the needs of his clients. It's about learning and growing and being open to new experiences and challenges. And it's about being willing to take risks and try new things, even if they don't always work out. And it's about being willing to put in the effort and to be patient and persistent even when things get tough. And it's about being open to new experiences and challenges and being willing to take risks and try new things. You know, it's amazing how tiny changes in our habits can completely alter the trajectory of our lives. Just like how a slight adjustment in the direction of a plane can make a huge difference in its destination. And it's the same with our habits. A one improvement every day can compound to nearly 38 times better over a year. But on the other hand, a one decline every day can bring us close to 0. It's all about the power of atomic habits. It's the small, consistent changes that add up over time. But here's the thing: when we start making changes, we often expect to see linear progress. We think that if we put in the effort, we'll see immediate results. But that's not always the case. In fact, James Clear calls this the valley of disappointment, where we put in a lot of effort, but don't see any noticeable results at first. But the thing is, it's not about the results we see in the short term. It's about the habits we build and the progress we make over time. And that's what's so powerful about atomic habits. They may seem small and insignificant on their own, but when combined, they can create incredible change. They didn't start out with some grand, ambitious plan. They just shifted, making small changes, one by one, and over time, those changes added up to something amazing. And it's not just about the habits themselves, but also about the mindset behind them. It's about being intentional and deliberate about the changes we want to make, and being willing to put in the effort to make them happen. It's about creating an experience that's thoughtful and intentional. It's about paying attention to the details and creating something that's truly special. They just shifted, making small changes, one by one, and over time, those changes added up to something amazing. You know, it's amazing how tiny changes in our habits can completely alter the trajectory of our lives. It's the same with our habits. Small changes can have a huge impact, both good and bad, over time. We often think that massive success requires massive action, but it's actually the tiny incremental improvements that add up to make a big difference. On the other hand, if you get one worse every day, you'll be close to 0. It's crazy how our habits can compound against us or work in our favor. It's so true. When we start something new, we expect to see linear progress, but what actually happens is that we go through a valley of disappointment where our efforts don't seem to be paying off. But that's where the magic happens, and our small changes start to add up.